What's up, everybody? Derek Anderson, the DA, and yeah, I wanted to go ahead and touch base on this little Star Wars related topic, even though it's not going to be a part of the Star Wars Celebration recap for day 2. That's coming up in a moment. As soon as a few things download, been waiting for a while for this to happen. Computer problems, man, I tell you, it's a trip. But let's go ahead and talk about this particular article here. Kathleen Kennedy clarifying no more Star Wars recasting comments that she made at Celebration when she was interviewing somebody. So yeah, this is interesting because she came out and said, hey, we're not going to recast classic characters anymore. We're just not going to do that. And what she was really talking about was in relationship to Solo, basically how they recast Han Solo to be played by Alden Ehrenreich, instead of Harrison Ford. Obviously Harrison Ford's an older guy and they were telling a young Solo story. And so they were like, well, we're not going to recast people anymore. We're going to just kind of let the classic characters stay the way they are. At least that's the impression that most people got, that they weren't going to be doing any future stories with a younger Luke or a younger Han Solo or a younger Leia. That made everybody kind of start scratching their heads like, well, you guys are really limiting the amount of kind of storytelling that you can do if you do that. But let's go ahead and check out this article. By the way, if you haven't done so already, go ahead and drop down, give me a subscribe and a like. Man, I am exhausted right now from 2 days of celebration. I still got 2 more to go, but let's get through this article. Still, the show must go on. So it says here, Lucasfilm President Kathleen Kennedy clarifies her previous comments about Star Wars no longer recasting characters after Solo, a Star Wars story. In addition to making the sequel of trilogy films one of the earliest movies set into motion after Disney bought Lucasfilm was an origin story for Han Solo, the role made famous, of course, by Harrison Ford. So it goes on to say, it recast Alden Ehrenreich as young Han Solo, and that the movie was met with a mixed reaction after its tumultuous production, and it ultimately struggled at the box office. Now, a couple of things about Solo. I enjoyed Solo. I know a lot of people thought that it wasn't, really a good movie, but I just enjoyed it just as a pure action film. Lots of great set pieces, invading the little spice mines on Kessel, and then of course making the Kessel Run. That's all I ever wanted to see, to be quite honest with you. As a kid growing up, I just wanted to see that all play out, and I saw it played out, and I was extremely pleased with it. But the surprise to me was Kira. I didn't think I was going to like that character as much. I thought, yeah, okay, Emilia Clarke, she's just in there for kind of eye candy and a little fun for Han Solo to have a young romance or whatever, but at the end of the day, I mean, she actually really wowed me with her performance. And then the connected to Darth Maul at the end, when Darth Maul pops up and says, hey, we got work to do, she's now going to be basically the head of Crimson Dawn, or at least the face of Crimson Dawn. So I wanted to see all of that play out. I'm like, okay, I'm ready for a Solo 2. Let's go. Let's get it going. And maybe, Han tries to pull her back from, going deeper and deeper into the clutches of Crimson Dawn. I wanted to see something like that. So for me, I was excited for that. Looks like that's not going to happen. But nevertheless, I don't think that Solo failed because Alden Ehrenreich was recast as Han Solo. I don't think that was the issue. I think that really it was it was bad timing. The film came out right after The Last Jedi, and it was super divisive. The Last Jedi was critically panned from the Star Wars fans. So a lot of people didn't like that film, and a lot of people were like, I'm not messing with Star Wars right now. They don't seem to know how to get it right. And so from that standpoint, I think what happens now is, okay, you got a whole group of Star Wars fans that are just not going to check out this film, and it came out only 5 months after The Last Jedi. I think if they had gone ahead and waited until December, kind of let The Last Jedi heat cool down a little bit, I think it would have did better. But in any case, it says here, the response to Solo, a Star Wars story, changed Lucasfilm's plan in several major ways, especially how it treats established characters. Kennedy recently said that one of the lessons the studio learned was that they can't recast major characters like Han Solo, Luke Skywalker, and Leia Organa. Kennedy's takeaway from Solo, the Star Wars story, was that audience can't accept anyone other than original actors playing these characters. Comments that were met with much criticism, especially as Obi-Wan releases, right? Because obviously, that was my initial thought. Like, well, you just put out a movie where a legacy character like, Obi-Wan that was played by Sir Alec Guinness, you recast them into Ewan McGregor, and now you're releasing a story about Ewan McGregor with people, very much into that story, people wanting to see Obi-Wan for a very, very long time. So for me, it was just kind of like, kind of a weird statement. I don't know what Kathleen Kennedy was getting at right there, but it goes on to say here that she clarified her comments. All right, so what you gotta say, Kathy? How do you clean this all up? And she goes on down here. I'm not going to give the details, but she says here there's always a future for Solo. All right, so here's the quote. I never say never with regard to recasting characters. It's certainly not something that we're doing with any intention now. We're still talking about Lando with Donald Glover, for instance, but I don't think we would intentionally just look back at some of the characters like Luke and Leia and whatnot and decide arbitrarily to do a story. There would have to be a really strong reason why. I mean, there's always should be a really strong reason why you recast anybody. And if they came out and made Solo without any kind of real interest in telling a story, they're just like, oh, let's get a young Han Solo and let's recast him and just let him like, yeah, then of course, yeah, you've messed up royally. You never recast or you never make a story if you don't have a story to tell. Like, somebody should have had this burning desire to tell Solo a Star Wars story. Now, it was written by Lawrence Kasdan's son, and Lawrence Kasdan is a dyed in the wool Star Wars guy, so his son gets the opportunity to tell this great story about Solo, about Han. I had no problem with it at all. I thought it was a great story, a great idea. I enjoyed the film. Like I said, I took it for what it was, but a lot of people didn't. And a lot of people kind of felt like, well, they really shouldn't have went in that direction, or they never should have made this story in the first place. Nobody was asking for a young Han Solo film. And maybe that's true. Maybe a lot of people weren't interested in seeing a young Han Solo. And maybe a lot of people didn't accept a recast of Harrison Ford's character. Maybe that's the case. But the reality is, there's a lot of stories that are embedded into this world, and you got to move on. Like, Star Wars spent, unfortunately, 16 years, in darkness. It's, what I consider from 83 to 99. And a lot of stories that could have been told weren't told. So now that you got a studio with the moxie and the ability to really crank out some stories, hey, I'm all for it, and I know a lot of younger Star Wars fans, they want to see films in the theaters. They don't want to just see stuff on Disney Plus and just watch that. No, they want to go to theaters and they want to see films because they want to have that same experience that we had growing up, going to the Star Wars films for the very first times. It's funny, like I was talking to a guy in my little hangout group at Celebration, and that's exactly what we were talking about. Like, hey man, you guys got to go see these films in theaters, and I was so excited to see the sequel trilogy in theaters. This is a young cat. He's only 25 years old. And he's like, I enjoyed being able to do that. And so you really have to take a step back sometimes as Star Wars fans to say, okay, and what are we going to show? What kind of films are we going to show these newer, younger kids and, the younger and the next generation? What are they going to get an opportunity to watch? So I don't think anything should be off the board in regards to that. I think if you can find, maybe you got to scour the earth to find the perfect person to play Han Solo or Luke or Leia or any of the other legacy characters. Maybe that's what you got to do. And if you got to do it, you got to do it. But nothing should be off the table, and especially, like I said, you got recast Obi-Wan Kenobi, and everybody accepts because you got a good actor to play the character. So whether Alden Ehrenreich was the right person or the wrong person, that's up for you guys to decide. I actually didn't mind his performance that much. I thought he did an okay job, a good job, good enough job. I was just more interested in the story and the energy that came from, like I said, the two parts that I enjoyed, the Kessel Run, and the rest of the movie was actually fun too, with the train heist and Woody Harrelson and his character. I loved him. I actually like Solo a whole lot. I don't get why people don't really enjoy that film, but in any case, that'll do it for me. Just wanted to throw that out there real quick while I'm waiting for these downloads to take place. I can start doing my recap of day 2 at Celebration. But that'll do it, folks. If you haven't done so already, subscribes, likes, help me out, and yeah, I really appreciate all the support, folks. Thanks for watching. See you next time.